Alright, so this course is titled Philosophy 176. Our topic is about death. Let me, first of all, introduce myself, and I would like to ask you to do something for me. My name is Shelley Kagan. The very first thing I want to do is to invite you to call me by my name Shelley without titles. In other words, if we meet on the street, or if you come to talk to me during my office hours, if you ask some question, then Shelley is the name that I will respond to. I certainly will not have any problem if you call me Professor, but I do not feel comfortable with that. It is not the name I immediately recognize. I have found that over the years, fewer and fewer students feel comfortable calling me Shelley. When I was young, it seemed to work. Now I'm gray in August. But if you're comfortable with it, Shelley is the name that I prefer to be called by. Now, as I say, this is a class on death, but it's a philosophy class, and what that means is that the set of topics that we're going to be talking about in this class are not identical to the topics that other classes on death might try to cover. So the first thing I want to do is say something about the things we will not be talking about, that you might reasonably expect, or hope, that a class on death would talk about. So that if this is not the class you were looking for, you still have time to go check out some other class. So here are some things that a class on death could cover, that we will not talk about. What I primarily have in mind are sort of psychological and sociological questions about the nature of death, or the phenomenon of death. So, a class on death might well have a discussion of the process of dying, and coming to reconcile yourself with the fact that you're going to die. Some of you may know about Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's discussion of the so-called 5 stages of dying. There's denial, and then there's anger, and then there's bargaining. I actually don't remember the 5 stages. We're not going to talk about that. Similarly, we're not going to talk about the funeral industry in America, and how it rips off people, which it does, in their moments of grief and weakness, and overcharges them for the various things that it offers. We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about the process of grieving or bereavement. We're not going to talk about sociological attitudes that we have towards the dying in our culture, and how we tend to try to keep the dying hidden from the rest of us. These are all perfectly important topics, but they're not, as I say, topics that we're going to be talking about in this class.